Peter's up there posing. Here's your look at the new Diamond Select Marvel's Spider-Man Gallery Diorama PVC statue. Once a shy science nerd, Peter Parker's life was changed forever when the bite of a radioactive spider granted him amazing arachnid-like abilities. After the tragic death of his beloved Uncle Ben, Peter realized that with great power there must also come great responsibility. He has since devoted his life to protecting New York City and its citizens as the Amazing Spider-Man. This gallery diorama of Spider-Man is based on his appearance in Marvel Comics. It is made of high-quality PVC and features detailed sculpting and paint applications. It was designed by Nelson X. Asensio and sculpted by Jean St. Jean. I don't know about you guys, but I always get super excited when Diamond releases another statue of Spidey. This one, by the way, has just hit comic book stores. And I found it at my local comic book store last week, at the time that I'm shooting this review. Let's go ahead to grab the ruler and just to see how tall the statue is. Factoring in, of course, that Spider-Man's arm is sticking out like this, holding the webbing in his grip, that gives the statue a height of about 11 inches in size, about 11 inches tall, and about 28 centimeters tall. Might as well look at the statue's base first. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not really sure what the statue's base is supposed to be depicting. We can see that there's something that's fallen and Spider-Man's perched on top of it, but what that fallen thing is a bit unknown to me. We're going to go ahead and pick the statue up, and maybe between all of us, we can sort of figure out and deduce exactly what this is. This sort of seems like it could be the top of a bridge. And by the fact that you can see there's ruins down below here, I guess this is what has been what's left of the fallen debris as it sort of has hit the ground, and Spider-Man, like I said, is sitting on top of it. It's nicely sculpted for whatever it actually is. You sort of see these additional pieces on the side of some sort of architecture, but again, I'm not really certain exactly what it is. It's sort of just a culmination of things all thrown together. And it's not necessarily that's a deterrent to the statue at all. In fact, it gives you something at least to look at. The terrain that they've sculpted just alone, like all the asphalt and concrete, for example, you can see all these nice little cracks and additional texturing of added darker color that really helps to enrich and give you a really nice sculpted contrasting of colors. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff going on here, even if I don't really know exactly what it's supposed to be. One little touch of detail I actually like, for probably all the wrong reasons, is I like this little bit of webbing right here. It's not quite the same webbing that he actually has in his hand, but I find that looking at it, it actually looks like a hand grabbing onto the side of the debris. There's probably a reasoning why they sort of sculpted it to look like a hand. Maybe this is what Spider-Man was literally holding this structure in place, and finally the whole weight of it just collapsed all of it. And this could be maybe just sort of the symbolism of his hand holding on to the side of whatever this thing was, and finally before it just eventually gave way. Probably looking more than what's actually there, but kind of does look a little bit like a hand to me. You got some nice colorings added in there. You got some gold, some nice silver, and of course then you've got the main green element here, this tower, this podium of sorts that he's just sort of standing on top of. And then you got some nice little smoke added in there as well, adding some additional effect and some nice appreciated color. On the side, it sort of looks like maybe this is what's left after the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man has walked through the city streets of New York, and maybe this is just like marshmallow fluff. It's likely smoke. I do like the idea that they've actually gone in there and added some darker colors added in there as well, some lighter blues, some darker grays. Really, again, just add to a really interesting looking statue. I still don't know what it is, though. By the way, as we always seem to look at on these statues anyways, we can look at the underside of the display base. I know not much exciting, but it's just to show you as well that this is PVC plastic. I always continue to sell you guys on the idea that if you're looking to get into statues, PVC gallery statues that Diamond is producing is really the best way to get into statues. Like, this statue was sitting me at about $60. I think I bought this at my local comic book store. $60 considering for how cool this Spider-Man looks and the fact that it's a pretty tall looking statue as well. It's, I think, some of the best bargains around when it comes to getting into statue collecting, if that's something that you're interested in. On to now the perched Peter Parker. I do really like how the head sculpt turned out on this one, and it helps, for me at least, to be able to tilt the statue up so you can really see the amount of sculpting and paint that they put into this statue. Unfortunately, though, you're really not going to see as much of that when you actually put it in its default pose. You can see that Spider-Man is going to be always looking down like this, so you're really not going to get the full effect of really appreciating the amount of time and effort that Dahmm Life put into the statue's sculpting. But of course, here in this review, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like up close. And am I really the only one that's getting the 90s Spider-Man vibe when I'm looking at this, specifically drawn by Todd McFarlane? And while he does have, the spaghetti webbing in his hand, he doesn't quite have the telltale sign of a McFarlane Spider-Man, as he doesn't have the larger sized eyes. I would certainly be open to the idea of a statue this good already, not being released later on with larger McFarlane-style eyes, because his eyes could have gone even further than what he's got right now. I will say, though, with the eyes being the size that they are, his head almost kind of looks a little longer than what it needs to be. I guess it is proportionally right, especially when you're seeing it from the side. A very flat front-faced of Spider-Man, a nice rounded sculpted head, and some decently detailed webbing there on Spider-Man's face. I do like the darker coloring that they've done here for the front of Spider-Man's face as well for the rest of his body. They've added a nice darker wash to it. Some of the features do get a little lost, like, for example, his spider emblem. But at least it gets saved when you spin the statue around, and you get treated to a much brighter emblem on the back of his torso. It's here where you see a bit of the separation of the color. You get a much brighter red happening here, and you get more of a darker, dingier red here because there's so much additional black wash that they've added onto it. They could have perhaps pulled back the black wash just a little bit, so the red at least matched the color that they put for the emblem. I've got a few little specks of paint on the back, but certainly not to the point that it's a deal breaker for the statue. It's got a really nice looking pose for it. Yeah, again, I feel like the statue leans a little too far forward a little bit. I might have even just brought Spider-Man just up a little bit so you'd be able to get the full experience of seeing what his head sculpt looks like. I'm going to spin this again around so you can see what it looks like. He's got, of course, the spaghetti webbing grabbing in his hand. Yeah, doesn't it have that Todd McFarlane style of Spider-Man? I mean, this also would work really well for a black costume Spider-Man, something that I don't think is completely ruled out with Dahmm. When they have done Spider-Man statues in the past, they have also followed up that same statue, giving it the black suit treatment. And I think a pose like this and a sculpt this good, I would hope to think that this isn't a one and we're done. I really think there's ground and territory for them to cover and not release the statue again in a different suit color. Because you imagine how good this would look in a black suit, maybe some blue highlights added in there, the very wide, notable symbiote symbol there on the front, and of course the white eyes on Spider-Man. You probably wouldn't even have to change too much differently to the face, and maybe if anything, they may have to retool it to eliminate some of the webbing that he has, of course, on his shoulders and the sides of his arms as well. The webbing is good. It's nice and dark and gray. It probably could have worked to be a little bit more lighter color to match the color that's on the side that he's holding on. Well, continue to say it looks like a hand, but I think the webbing probably could have matched the colors a little bit more closer. This is obviously a more translucent, and maybe that's one of the reasons why this is a darker gray, because they couldn't use a translucent plastic for this. They definitely have gone with more of a darker, solid PVC. Well, this is clearly looks more like a see-through, transparent PVC plastic. Yeah, it's a really nice looking Spider-Man statue. Again, the thing about this statue is, I guess it's a good thing that Spider-Man looks low like this, because you only are really seeing just the tops of his eyes. I'm trying not to cover it with my fingers. It has the benefit, of course, that you can pose it in different ways. It loses a little something, admittingly, when you see it from the side. Maybe let's spin it around this way. Yeah, that looks actually a little bit better. But I think when it comes to displaying the statue on my shelf, I'm probably going to just not have it completely straight like this, but just turn it ever so slightly, so at least you get the side profile of Spider-Man's head sculpt and the side profile of his eyes. Because I think the head sculpt is really good on this one. I wouldn't want to get that lost by having the statue facing forward. Really nice statue. Questionable as exactly what the base is supposed to be, but I think a really nice release from Dahmm Life Toys. You know, it's not until you actually have the physical statue of Spider-Man spinning on the rotisserie and you not compare it to the back box artwork that you notice that's two completely different Spider-Man. Well, they're mostly the same, but there's changes that they have made. The physical statue of Spider-Man has him looking down, where in fact, the image on the back of the box has him looking forward. That's rather interesting. That may have possibly even been a prototype of the first statue that they produced, and then decided later on that they wanted to change the placement of Spider-Man instead. And I gotta say, while it looks good on the back of the box, I like the physical look of Spider-Man much more. I like the idea that this gives him a sense of height Like he's looking down on something as opposed to him looking forward. I mean, based on just him looking down, we can't even imagine how high he is. I mean, we see sort of the ruins down below, but that might not even be ground level either. He might be on top of a building, for example, and that could be like a radio tower that he's on top of. If he's actually on the back of the box looking forward, then we could easily deduce he's probably on the ground, and then everything has sort of fallen down. He's looking forward at whatever the subject is. You may also notice that the whip is different too. The whip looks, well, the webbing looks more like a whip on the back of the box and actually more spirals around him on the physical copy. I do like the changes that they made, and whether this was the starting point on the back of the box and what we get in the physical statue is the final settling point, I gotta say the changes are noticeable, and I like the physical statue a lot more. Still, in both the cases, you're still getting that kind of Todd McFarlane designed Spider-Man. I did say that in this review, the eye probably could be a little bit larger. I mean, with him looking down like this, it does give you a larger looking eye. Him looking straight forward, like as on the back of the box, his eye actually seems smaller. It's just probably more an optical illusion than anything else. The molding on Spider-Man is really good. The paint is nice, though it is a darker wash that they've added. It does fill in the crevices and creases of the webbing nicely, but it does sort of give him a darker, dingier looking red, especially when you're comparing it to the back emblem on his torso. I think they probably could have lightened it up a little bit, but I do really like what Diamond has done here with the Spider-Man Gallery statue, and I hope this isn't a case, no, not a case, where we get a one and we're done. Reuse this mold, Diamond, please, and re-release this possibly with a symbiote suit Spider-Man. Oh, that would look oh so cool. But what do you guys think of the statue? Let me know down below in the comment section. And also, if you could do me a service, let me know down below what you think he's perched on top of. The more I'm looking at it, the more I think it's still the top of a building, and that's a part of like a radio tower. That's my guess, is at least. Or he could be battling Electro, and that's like an electrical conduit tower. What do you guys think that the base is? Let me know down below in the comment section. And if this is a statue that you guys would consider picking up, as I did say that this has now just dropped at local comic book stores. In fact, I came in on comic book day and they were just putting this statue out. So if you guys are interested to pick this one up for yourself, it is available right now at your local comic book stores. And something I don't say nearly enough here on this channel, make sure you support your local comic book stores. As you know, it's fine, it's good to buy stuff all online. But the comic book stores are they're the bloodline for comic book collecting. Be sure, if you can, to support your local comic book stores and keep them in business during, of course, these troubling times in the world, and also moving forward. These comic book stores, you really do want to keep them going, so make sure you're buying locally from your local comic book stores. That being said, of course, if you are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn on the bell notification, and keep peepers peeled at all times. Well, we have wrapped up the review for the new Spider-Man Gallery diorama statue. There is going to be more Diamond Select reviews coming your way, as well. At the very end of this video, popping up will be a playlist of other Diamond Select stuff that I've looked at over the years. So there's lots of stuff for you guys to be checking out. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.